Hey, yo, welcome back to the Boston Sports Brothers podcast. Great to be back here on Monday, April 6th. We're recording right before the national championship game for March Madness. We'll give some instant reaction once that game concludes in terms of what happened. So we'll slot that in. If you're tuning in right now, you're hearing our instant reaction. And then this is our episode that we're recording here. So fellas, let's start with March Madness, recapping the Final Four Saturday in Indianapolis, a great scene. Two games that went ways that we might not have expected. Let's start with the big one. It was Arizona versus Michigan. Many folks said that this was the national championship game. This was sort of whoever won this one was going to go ahead and take tonight. But let's go ahead and talk about that game. It really it was just lopsided, my friends. But floor is open. Whoever wants to chime in, go for it. We'll go around the horn, then we'll talk about the other one.
Yeah, I feel.
I won't. Well, go ahead, Eric.
No, you go ahead, Gabe.
Sorry about that. No, I was just gonna say I watched a little bit of this game, and Michigan really just dismantled Arizona. I had Arizona as my champion for this tournament, so my bracket is officially going in the shredder. But no, it was a good game overall. Michigan, they've got some they're just a good team, and when we get to UConn, we're gonna say the same thing. They just play great team basketball. There is one guy or a few guys that by name, but you could really say all the starting five are great players. So, I Michigan really took care of Arizona there. It wasn't even really much of a contest.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a complete beatdown. It was a complete beatdown at halftime, right? It wasn't just like, oh, it was close most of the game, and then Michigan really kind of separated towards the end, and it looked more lopsided than the actual game was. It was actually kind of wild in the second half. Arizona would hit a shot, and then Michigan would hit one. Michigan would then get a stop from Arizona, and then they would hit them. They never let up. They were up by like 20 points the entire second half. And I think the cool thing about it too was, Yaxel Lendenberg got hurt in the first half, 5 minutes into the game, knee, ankle injury, just did not look great. People didn't think he was going to come back. Not only does he come back and guts it out, dude couldn't miss in the second half. He just was on fire. So I know there have been a lot of comments about, will he play in the national championship game? I believe it's confirmed that he is going to play, right?
Yeah. I would imagine
You
so.
gotta
He's
go
got
for
it.
that game. J Matt, go ahead, chime in on this one,
Yeah,
and feel
no,
free to take us
I-
into UConn.
I thought it was the game was done by halftime, probably even before halftime, honestly. But at halftime, I didn't realize, and I don't know if any of you caught this, but there was a Fab Five kind of alternate watch that you could watch. So that was sick. I was watching Chris Webber and Ray Jackson and all those cool guys, and I was like, damn, this is a fun watch. So it definitely was pro Michigan, but they're also killing it at the same time. But I don't know how UConn is going to handle both of those big men. That other dude too, I'm not really sure if his name is getting away from me, but Axelberg and that other guy he could play in the NBA. I think right now he's that big, and I think he would be effective. I think UConn's going to have
I think they're both projected to be drafted this draft. So
I believe that. So I think UConn's going to have their hands full, but that game was over by halftime. So not really much to talk about there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's talk about you. One thing about Michigan going into tonight is they've scored 90 plus points in each of their games in the tournament so far. They've just been unbelievable offensively. And it's going to be really tough for UConn, I think, in the game tonight. But UConn, after the miracle shot from Mullins in the Elite Eight past Duke, goes ahead, gets a matchup with Illinois. A home crowd for Illinois. It's about a 2-hour drive for those guys to get down there. So, outnumbered in enemy territory, UConn goes ahead, and they were in the lead. They kind of had control of the game. It was somewhere in that 5 to 10 point range for the most part, but they did a good job of maintaining that. And Mullins again at the end goes ahead, hits a three with about a minute left to put them up 9, and that sort of did it. I'm just unbelievably impressed with UConn and what they've been able to do. Coach Hurley, man, that guy's fucking unbelievable. He is the top college coach by a landslide. It's Dan Hurley and then others. But feel free to chime in on this game, fellas. I was with the whole fam on Saturday, so we all became UConn fans. It was a good time. It was a good win. It's great to have a college team in New England that is good. That means something, believe it or not, I think. But
yeah, and
anyone go ahead.
And it also helps that Luke Murray's there too. Luke Murray, who's now the head coach at BC, famously the son of Bill Murray, and he's also a great recruiter and assistant coach on UConn. It's not bad that UConn is continuing to run up because it also can have a trickle effect to other area schools here. I think just talking about the game real quick, and then I'll throw it out to one of you guys. Both teams really didn't shoot the ball well at all. 4% for Illinois and 35% overall for UConn. That's pretty bad. Where the game was won was the 3-ball. UConn made 12 out of 33, shot 36%. Illinois will only hit 6 out of 26 for 23%. If you think about that, that's not exactly the difference, but it makes this game a lot closer if Illinois hits a few more of those and UConn misses a few of those as well. So really the 3-ball is what came down to it. And,
And
Hurley is the best.
that's what got Illinois to the game. That point in the tournament anyways was their 3-point shooting. And, you've got Peja Stojakovic's son on the team, and
awesome.
all they've got some type of European pipeline there at Illinois. That's just a bunch of guys that are tall and can shoot threes. But no, that was a great game. Josh, like you kind of said, I don't think any of us picked UConn to make it to this point in the tournament. Eric, there you go.
UConn,
I did not. Wow.
Okay, so 25% of us.
But like that was a wild card when I made it. It was more of like, let me throw something that's fun out of the bracket. If you asked me seriously before going into the tournament if I thought they were going to win the championship, I would have said no, because I would have thought that they would have gotten beaten by Duke or Michigan State, just because like that East bracket side of the bracket was loaded.
Right.
I did that kind of almost like as a homer pick, and it's like it's worked out for me, but that wasn't a pick that I was truly calling.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's also, what Plotty alluded to of having a college team in New England that's actually good and wins at the national level. There's something to say about that. I mean, we obviously have great pro sports here in Boston, but it's kind of cool to tag along with UConn, even if we did go to URI or UMass or JWU. It's like we can cheer for the New England team. It's fun. It gives it a little something, gives it something more.
I think it is too bad that it is the state of Connecticut. I will say that being from New England, but
I know
how
is that possible?
We'll root for him though. So they got Ryan Deli, so why not?
But I also think too, like Gabe and Plotty, you guys were at URI when Hurley was there, so like this is a different wrinkle I think for you guys than probably most other folks, where like you guys have seen him in action at your school when you guys were there. It's kind of like, obviously you guys are URI fans, but you guys are also Dan Hurley fans because of what you guys were able to see for him. So just would love to hear your guys' like perspective about like not just rooting for UConn, but rooting for Dan Hurley.
I mean, I said it.
I thought Plotty said it. He's like
when McComb was on a couple of weeks ago. I just think his ascension to being where he's at is unbelievable. And I said it at the top. He's the best coach in college right now. So it's fun to root for him. He's a guy that, people shit on him because of the antics, and we've talked about that extensively as well. It's like, clearly what he's doing works, so I'm not going to question it. When he was at URI, it was awesome. It's the only time we've made the tournament in the last fucking 25 years. So he brings a winning culture wherever he goes, and more college coaches should be like Dan Hurley. I think Luke Murray's going to be extremely successful at Boston College. I hope BC gets back to being good again. I don't know, Gabe, I love rooting for Hurley. It's like there's no other coach I feel like that I've rooted for like him, though. Even like Belichick, like I didn't root for him like that in North Carolina. I don't know if you did.
No, but it's kind of like with Belichick, and what I'm thinking of right now is like I would have Hurley's back no matter what, and it's like same with like how we had Belichick's back during like Spygate or like something like that. Even if there is like a controversy or people think his antics are crazy, like we're always Hurley fans number one. Just experiencing him at URI was something. I mean, he brought so much energy to the stadium, and you said it too, Plotty, like he's such a culture guy, and he really brought a positive culture to UConn, and they really needed a spark at that time. So he was that guy. If you need a spark, you call Dan Hurley.
Well,
and we'll leave it there. Like the spark that he brings, like the guy would just walk around the dining hall handing out tickets with his two best players there, man. Like pretty much peer pressuring you. Like, are you coming to the game tonight? I have a fucking ticket in my hand for you. Sorry, Eric, go ahead. And then
I don't think he has to do that at UConn.
No,
The
I was just
women.
gonna transition to the championship game, and then we can go to the women.
Yeah, yeah.
Just about the game, UConn versus Michigan. We have that tonight. Two very, very like well-known, prominent colleges and universities going up against each other. Who do you guys have? I think obviously Michigan's the favorite here, but how do you guys see this playing
Should we
out?
make a live bet on
Let's go for the over so that we can root for just points,
It's gonna
because
be
that's what I think is
close.
yes.
going to happen.
I
I
mean, if
think it's gonna
Michigan
be.
plays like they played last game, like it's could have very well happened.
I think it's going to be closer than 6.5. I think that's a little too much. I think it's maybe going to be like a. The only thing is it could get out of hand late, but I think most of the game is going to be close. So I see why they had that spread, but I think the majority of the game is going to be back and forth, possession to possession. But I don't know. I do feel like Michigan has the upper hand. I don't know why. I like Hurley and I like the team that he's put together, but I just feel like that Michigan team is really on something right now. So we'll see how it plays out. It's going to be close, anyone's game, but I just feel like Michigan. So you should probably bet UConn if you're listening, or if you can go back in time.
The lines are the over under went up a lot throughout the day. I think it was at like 139. Now it's at 146. That's I kind of wish I took that
Still
earlier,
like that
but
number.
yeah, yeah. But it's plus 6.5. You got plus 100. That's pretty good. I mean, I think it's going to be a close game. I'm excited for it.
I actually feel like UConn's going to win this one. I feel like you can't hit that shot against Duke and then not finish the job. And I feel like if you want to talk about one of the greatest college championship runs in the tournament, I think UConn is primed right now to be there. Just the gauntlet that they went through, no one really took them seriously. They had a lot of midseason issues, right? Where they kind of backslid. I just kind of feel like this is a little bit too much a team of destiny right now. Watch Michigan go and clean the floor with them, but as of right now, I gotta ride with UConn.
I think UConn wins this game if their shooting shows up in a way that it hasn't really this entire tournament. They need Caravan, Ball, Mullins to be great. The one guy who we haven't mentioned is Terrace Reed. That guy's a fucking monster down low.
Baller.
Yeah.
But my
Baller.
fear is that Michigan is the one team that has the size to match up with him and has multiple guys that they can throw at him. So that's why I think if UConn is to win, those other guys got to step up from outside. They play a little inside out. All right, let's move it to the women's side real quick. UCLA wins in a blowout against South Carolina to win the national championship there first, but that really isn't even the story of what happened. It was the end of the South Carolina UConn game, the Jordan's Furniture game, where everything went wrong. And Gino Auriemma just lost his shit at the end of the game, going at Dawn Staley based over a handshake. UConn loses a perfect season, opportunity to win their first national championship in a couple of years. So anything from the women's Final Four, fellas, and then we'll keep the train moving along.
I mean, terrible by Gino Auriemma. Like, listen, like he is a legend. He's one of the best coaches in, I wouldn't say just women's basketball, but basketball in general. And Dawn Staley also is, a GOAT. She's been doing this a long time, won national championships. Got to be better than that, Gino. And like, I'm glad he issued an apology, and I'm glad that he tried to clear it up, but it should have honestly been done sooner than it actually happened. And it's just not a good look. Yeah, I mean, not a good look for the program, not a good look for him.
It just looks like a poor sport, honestly. It's like you lose your what, it was like a 50 something game winning streak, or I think it was something like crazy like that. And you go and do that, especially to a female coach, really bad look. To do that to any other coach, but especially a prominent female coach on the other side who is, like Eric said, won championships. You can't do that. You just cannot do that. And bad look for Gino. So we'll see. We'll see what happens to him, but I think he's gonna get looked at regardless of even if he stays as the coach or not. I think people are gonna look at him a little bit more in a negative.
Very
It
true.
was ugly. Gabe, go ahead if you have anything.
Besides that, nothing too much. I think UConn's women's basketball has been so dominant. I think we were all probably quite surprised that they lost in the Final Four and didn't have a chance to go for the championship. That promotion at Jordan's Furniture that probably everyone knows about now. I thought it would be the opposite way around, and UConn men's would be the ones who screwed it up, but no, the women's kind of shit the bed a little bit, and Gino went just a little bit too crazy there at the end.
Well, the sad part about this though is like it's taken all the shine away from UCLA as well, because like UCLA played South Carolina in the next game and they absolutely walloped them. Very similar to how Michigan beat the shit out of Arizona. Like they absolutely crushed them. And UCLA, it's their first women's championship. They obviously have a storied history with men's college basketball with John Wooden. Like it should be a bigger story that UCLA won this, but it's overshadowed by Gino Oriema. That's
Yeah.
crappy. Like that to me is like one of the worst parts of what's come out of this last weekend for college basketball.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't do UCLA any good, but we here will acknowledge him on the Boston Sports Bros. Congrats on the championship, first ever for the women there. All right, let's keep it moving here to the Red Sox. We have moved them to the top of the order.
Boy.
Hold on. I'm going to set the table because Kraz isn't here. We were talking a bit pre-show about, just how bad it's been for this team. They're 2-7, worst team in baseball, get swept out in Houston after the poor series to start the season against Cincinnati. They come back home, they win the home opener, and then they drop the next two to the Padres. Just issue after issue after issue in terms of what this team has going on. Can't pitch, can't field, can't hit. And it's just showing up in every sort of way for this team. There's so many things that we can get into. I don't even know where to start because I have so many things that I want to say. It's almost like,
Do you wanna? We could.
I
there's so-
honestly
there-
can't
I know
even
where to
believe
start.
that it's 10 games in. But J-Matt, yeah, go ahead. You kick us off.
I know where
Matt's
to
gonna
start.
fucking rip him.
Grievances.
No, the reason
Rip it and rip him.
where I'm starting is, and we called this stuff out, guys. Like I'm not gonna pat ourselves in the back, but I am. Eric said the one thing that he was really, really worried about was them hitting home runs and being able to score. Right now, I believe I'm looking at it right now. They're like the third or fourth worst team right now in hitting home runs. So they're just not pulling their end on that. Yeah, they're the fourth worst team. Like, come on, what are they doing? They're just not hitting the long ball. And then also the thing that's been killing me is errors. We call that out. I said errors. I want them to clean up what they were very bad at last year, and what was apparently going to be a hallmark of this year was defense, running and hitting and getting on base and all that. But they're making about one error a game right now. I believe they have 9 errors, 9 games. That doesn't bode well. They're definitely losing games because of that, and they're giving up runs and having big innings. So they also don't look like they're ready to play. They look like they didn't take spring training seriously. And I know the WBC was part of that, but honestly, we're 2 weeks into the season, 9 games. I'm over that. Like they have to start doing something, and the weather's not an issue either. I'm not giving them a pass on that anymore because that's happened year after year now. So they're just, I don't know. I think the inevitable is Henry has to sell. I mean, we've talked about that in the past, and nothing's going to change until the old man gets his little ice cream and his little cup out and gets rid of it and gets rid of the team. And he's just not going to do that because he's a greedy person.
I want to start by mea culpa from last week. I was kind of like, hey, let's give the Red Sox some time. I was trying to be a little bit patient with them. I didn't expect that they were going to be 2-7 after the first 9 games. So the patience is no longer here. We're pulling that back, and now we're going to rip them.
Good.
First thing I want to do to rip them here is the kids are starving. 99. The kids are supposed to eat free when the Red Sox win. I don't know how many times they're going to eat free this season if they continue to play like they're going to play. So first off, let's start with that. Kids are going to go hungry. So Red Sox, need to help feed the kids. 2, not only was I worried that they weren't going to hit enough home runs, I think now I have an issue of, are they going to even put the ball in play? It's anemic what they're doing at the plate. They can't do anything. And when they have runners in scoring position, they can't capitalize. So that is also awful. 2 or 3. I'm on 3 now. Counting is hard. 3. We can see 3 here. I feel like Craig Breslow is bizarro Brad Stevens, where Brad Stevens, every move that he does works out. Craig Breslow, every move that he does not work out. Ranger Suarez, awful. Caleb Durbin, he also sucks. What else did they do this past offseason that blew? Someone else.
Go back to
Contreras isn't doing great.
Contreras, there we go. Contreras. So yeah, literally anything and everything. Oh, the Devers trade, all the players from the Devers trade that they just traded away, they all magically seem to be doing great. Bizarro Brad Stevens,
Sonny Gray, Savior Sonny Gray. Like, come on,
is Craig Breslow. He is literally everything he touches goes to shit. That's my take on the Red Sox.
Gabe, go ahead and get in here.
I mean, that was beautifully said, E. I loved all of that. Let's see if I could bring since Sam isn't here, I'll try to bring like a positive like Homer stance to this right now.
Pumpkin, get in there.
Oh, boy. I don't know. I think well, we've got Abreu. Willie Abreu's playing really well.
True.
We still have the pitching to the pitching will get us back into this season. We still have a great rotation. These guys are they're very new. They haven't gelled yet. So we just got to give them some time. And I think that's what Sam would say.
That is exactly what Sam would say, and you did a great job. We might as well just change your name to Sammy K in the bottom left corner here. I mean, might as well do that.
Switching positions on us.
I will say, William Abreu is about the only player that's done anything positive. He has continued his time from the World Baseball Classic into the season. But Sammy, I got some bad news for you. I don't know how much more time that you can give them, given where things are at, because the hole that they have to climb out of this early in the season to even just get back to level is a hole that you can't afford to dig yourself. And that's a real problem when it comes to this team, is that as J-Matt said, they just weren't ready to go. And every move that they have made, and the young guys that they've wanted to decide that they're going to rely on as well, nobody has done anything to put this team in a position to win. Even Roman Anthony. I mean, he's supposed to be our Lord and Savior of the Roman Empire here, and he's batting .235 and has been awful since the first two games in Houston. You got Mayer barely batting .200. And then you have Duran, Contreras, Story, and Durbin all batting .200 or worse. And that's your lineup every fucking day. You can't, as Big E said, you can't even put the ball in play. So and the pitching hasn't been what you need it to be to compete in these games. And I don't know. It's just, it could be a very long baseball season that I don't think any of us were prepared for. And it's becoming a realization very quickly here at the beginning of April, how ugly it is.
The last thing I want to say, Red Sox wise, is I don't know if something seems off in the clubhouse. I think so far with that whole Cora and Navarez and all that. And I just feel like the team's not gelling. And it's weird to me that they get rid of Bregman. They don't re-sign him. They ship Devers out west. Obviously, Devers had that coming to him, but he's a big name. So they're not signing these big names. I'm just curious if the young kids are kind of not trusting this ownership and kind of seeing what's going on and kind of seeing the writing on the wall and not liking what's going on. So I just find that very interesting that they get rid of these two big names and that they come off this year starting like shit. I just find it a little bit of a coincidence. Not a coincidence. It seems a little suspect to me.
Last thought from me here, and J-Matt, we were talking about this last night. Defense was supposed to be the calling card for this team, and aren't they leading the league in errors as well?
Yes,
it's just literally the whole plan was to be a great pitching team and to, win with your glove. And they were up 4-0 yesterday against the Padres. And if you're a team that's built on those two principles, you should have won that game. They ended up losing that game 8-6. It's so infuriating because this team, for the way that they designed it, if they actually play to their capabilities, they could win that way. I mean, I think we just covered, I think they don't have enough juice at the plate, but I wanted to give them a chance to see if the strategy would work, and clearly it hasn't worked so.
Yeah, I agree, Eric. I want to go back to what J-Matt just said, and I don't think Cora is going to last very long this season. I think he's on the chopping block this year. I know he's kind of buddy with John Henry, and you wouldn't think that John Henry would cut that cord, but if this ship doesn't get turned around, kind of quickly, I think that Cora definitely could be on the chopping block and they could bring somebody else in. I don't know how you guys would feel about that. I just think the culture in the locker room, like you said, J-Matt, is a little off. There's no, they didn't sign Bregman, so there's no leaders that are showing these young guys what's the right thing to do and how to prepare every day in the MLB. And it's just I feel like the stuff with Narvaez, I think Cora wants him to step up to be the leader, and he's kind of using him as an example and scratching him in that game that happened a while back now. But it's just all very, I don't know. The inner workings of the Red Sox right now are very, very sketch, and I think they're hanging on by a thread right now.
You were talking about
It's almost like he's too comfortable. Like Cora's too comfortable, and something needs to happen to shake it up.
I don't think Cora's the issue. I think Cora's looking at it. You were talking about the young kids being like, oh, are they going to spend money? I think Cora has gone into the last 2 off seasons expecting that they were going to spend money on players. So you want to know what? I think he's done. I think he's kind of like, hey, at the end of the day, I got my bag and I want to be here to manage a World Series championship team. I kind of pulled the second half of the season out of my rear end last year because let's be honest, the first half of the season was not fantastic. They really kind of came around starting in June last year. So I hope we're not going to have a repeat of that this year, because if they're going to do it, you should start playing well from the beginning, not playing catch up from the end. But like if I'm Cora, I'm fed up. Like, and I think that's part of the reason why the clubhouse is where it is because he was expecting them to do things and they did shit.
I mean, I think I'm watching the game here on the side, and Caleb Durbin just booted a fucking ball with the bases loaded, and it could have been a double play. So, like, that's the kind of team that we're looking at this year. And as Gabe said, they're hanging on by a thread. And when they play like that, like, they're just in a place. Bayo's out of the game, 3 1/3 into the game. Couldn't even get into the 5th. This team they're relying on things that they can't rely on. I don't know. We could keep going round and round the merry-go-round, but J-Man, feel free to take us off the merry-go-round.
I agree with you, Eric. I think Cora is not the problem, but I think he's going to be the scapegoat.
Yeah.
100%.
He might be.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, he very well might be the scapegoat. No, the problem is the players are playing like absolute fucking dog shit. That's my problem with this team, and they've assembled a team that doesn't have players on the team to feel, right. It starts that they don't make the investments. They pivoted to Ranger Suarez, giving him $130 million. What, you couldn't have gone another 60 or 70 to just keep Bregman on the fucking team and like keep the momentum and the leadership and the culture that you had started last year? Like, what was the point of ever bringing Alex Bregman in or trading Devers to like, how did we get to Caleb Durbin when you had 2 all-star third basemen on this roster last year to start the year? Like, that's just malpractice. The entire team has been malpracticed though for 10 years since they traded Mookie Betts, and they've made these ridiculous decisions. It hasn't just been Bizarro Craig Eric, it's been Bizarro Hyam, and ever since Dave Dombrowski was out of here. And honestly, Larry Lucchino, who lit a fire under the assholes as the president of the team. And then you have this fucking Muppet and Sam Kennedy that is just a fucking doughboy for these guys and is out there, making everything try and look nice. But like, it's bad and it stinks at all levels. It's so smelly at every level of the team and the organization from top to bottom. It's organizational at this point. They don't care to win. They don't care to win. They're going to fill the park. They're going to get their hot dog money. They're going to get the mini helmets sold. And
the mini little
there tonight, 2-7. It's sold out.
Coolers, little like water coolers. Those do look cool though.
I saw those. Yeah,
those look cool. Got to give them that.
Hey, boys, when we go, we're gonna fill up all before we go into the park. We're not spending money in the park. We're not going to give John Henry the money that he wants.
There's 0% chance that that's happening for me, but if that's your principle, good for you.
I'm gonna try. We'll see.
Another booted ball by Durbin.
Jesus.
Oh my God.
Was it 3-2? 3-2. Dude, this is unreal.
Quick.
2 more errors?
2 more.
2 errors.
They definitely lead the league now.
This is what we're saying.
Wasn't Durbin's whole thing is he was supposed to be like a Gold Glove third baseman or like Gold Glove quality?
He's a fucking shit brown glove third baseman.
Yeah, he's terrible.
Wow. I gotta find that clip from like
one last thing before we
move
on, and I just think you hit the nail on the head, Josh. This has been an issue that's been going on for a long time with this team. This goes back to when John Lester was negotiating with the team. Like that's when I really think that this all really started. Like they have a terrible perception with players that this franchise doesn't ever want to give them their proper dollar, especially to players who've been on this team. They're more willing to give players who have never played for this team the money, but players who have played for this team, Mookie Betts, John Lester, even David Ortiz. You guys remember David Ortiz had to renegotiate his contract every year for like the last 10 years of his career, that's not how you treat your homegrown talent. Like, they are disrespectful to the players that have come up on this team, and they would rather treat players on the other team better than their own players. It's unfathomable.
It's brutal. It's brutal. All right. Well, let's sort of keep our
Yeah,
practice of
Punkins.
this episode getting progressively
love-
more positive as Dave gives
Killing
us a
Going
live
at it.
shot,
You might make
I
us go
mean,
viral.
making faces right now. I mean, there's that's the most interesting thing going on this show in a very long. No, I'm just kidding.
I feel like we're gonna get the John Hamm meme going after this, where he's dancing in the club to the music. We're just gonna overlay some music over Pumpkin, and that's gonna go viral.
That'd be wonderful.
Pumpkin.
All right.
I'll give him some
Let's
privacy.
shift gears. I'm gonna call an audible here at the line, and let's go to the Bruins and
Yes.
and talk about this team who is on the cusp of getting into the
Yes.
playoffs. They had a tough week this week, but I do think we have playoff hockey ahead of us. I want to hear a few things, Gabe, in terms of the week that was, what you're looking for down the stretch, and what you think this team might be able to do if they are to punch their ticket.
Yes, well, thank goodness we still have the Bruins and Celtics, and hopefully some longer playoff runs that will distract us from the Red Sox at the moment. The Bruins currently, there's only 4 games remaining, which is absolutely insane. I can't believe we're at this point of the season already. The Bruins, they have a 6-point cushion in the first spot in the wild card standings. There's a bunch of teams that are vying for that second wild card positioning. I don't know. The Bruins they didn't look great this week. They played, 3 games on the road. And as we all know, they suck on the road. They lost to the Panthers in a pitiful 2-1 final where all the goals were scored in the first period, and the rest of the game was decided at that point. They lost to Tampa Bay 3-1, a team that they could see in the playoffs. So that's a tough look there. And then they lost to the Flyers in overtime. Thankfully, they were able to pick up a point there. But you got to beat the Flyers, and it's just like they're a frustrating team. It just sucks that the Western Conference is so, like, I don't know. There's so many thoughts in my head. Like, the Western Conference is so bad. Like, you have the St. Louis Blues, who are like in position for the fifth pick in the draft, but they're also slated to make the playoffs. It's like, how does that work? Like, that is just crazy. So I feel bad for the Bruins. Like, I don't think any of us expect them to really make a big Stanley Cup run this year, especially with the way they play on the road. I think that maybe they could win a series, but any team that they have to play, they're going to have to win games on the road. And, I think that will be their Achilles heel kind of in the playoffs this year. But, it's looking good. They need to keep trucking along. Like, they're not like guaranteed fully at this point to make the playoffs, and they've kind of been slacking a little bit. So they're like pretty much guaranteed.
I think they're kind of in it. You guys know how I've been feeling the past few weeks, and I'm gonna like completely change my tune a little bit. I think the fact that they've kind of gotten to this point and put up 95 points, I think over the last 2 to 3 weeks they've had a crazy little stretch here. This last week has been not great, but they've been playing, I want to say, like, out of 10 games, probably like 7-3 stretch along that, like, for probably like 3 to 4 weeks right now. So I got to give it to them. They've been playing really well, and they're kind of solidified in that first wild card, and they are gonna play, I would imagine, Tampa. But the thing that I think really bodes well for the Bruins right now is that they have been playing playoff hockey now for probably, I want to say, at least 2 weeks straight. So that could hurt them, and that could help them. It's going to help them because the fact that they are ready for the next step, but it could hurt them because they're kind of had to be a little bit more physical, put a little more juice than maybe a couple other teams have just to kind of get to this point. But I think this team in a 7-game series, I think they're going to really wear down some teams. I think that Kastelik, Janot, and Kirk Corrali line are really going to give people a run for their money, and they're gonna tough some people up, and they do play well on the boards and that checking game, which is what you really need in the playoffs. So I think they could steal a game on the road. I wouldn't put that out there too, just again, the way they've been playing playoff hockey. So I think they could probably win a series. I don't know how far they'll go. They do have one of the best goalies in the entire league. And we know that in the playoffs, if you do have a goalie that's playing out of his mind, which I think Swayman, we can all agree, kind of has been over the last month, probably since the Olympic break. This team could do it. They could go on a little bit of a run. I wouldn't put it out. I wouldn't put out there. And another thing that I didn't realize is I want to say since January, early January, they've been, I think, the second best hockey team in the entire league points wise. So you really got to give them credit where credit's due. So I don't know. The roller coaster is like really steep and up right now. Like we were going way like this. It was very bumpy, but they're going up. We'll see if they crash, but we're on a high climb right now.
I want to talk about the game against the Flyers just because I think this is a little bit of a microcosm of the season for them. Game was tight the entire way through, and then in overtime, you have Pasta with a silly penalty, and then you follow that right up with Charlie with a high stick, literally on the faceoff. And these are two guys that you're relying on, and obviously 5-on-3 in overtime, that's never going to go well, especially I think there was a minute 53 of 5-on-3 with 3 minutes left in over or 2 minutes 44 seconds. That was just going to be too much for the Bruins to be able to kill in order to win that game. Glad they got a point. They obviously have been playing for their playoff lives, and I think it's been longer than 2 weeks, to be honest. I think it's been kind of like 3 or 4, and they really have risen to the challenge up until this week. And I actually think it's a good thing that they are losing a little bit this week, and I'll explain why. No team can be as hot as they had been and continue to ride that all the way into the playoffs. So if they're going to start losing some games, I'd rather that happen now while they're a little bit more solidified going into the playoffs, where they kind of have solidified that they are going in at this point. Get some of these stinkers out of their system, start playing a little bit well with a couple games left in the season before they do head into the playoffs. And then, maybe they are poised to go on a run. Like, I think that's the beauty of the Stanley Cup Finals in the playoffs is that um, any team that gets into the dance can make it. And I think it's more true in hockey than in any other sport. I think in football and in basketball, you don't ever see a low seed team ever go and make a far run, whether it's to a conference championships or to a finals. I do think you see that in hockey. So I am hopeful that the Bruins will make some noise here in the playoffs. And I do think that getting some of these losses out of the way here, while not ideal, may actually bode well for them in the long run.
Yeah, J Matt mentioned that they've been a great team over the course of the second half of the season since January. I went back and looked. In March, they went 9-3-3, which is what you needed for them to get themselves into this playoff position. I do agree, Eric. I'd rather them be losing games now than in the playoffs. So we know how playoff hockey goes. Everything sort of ratchets up. I do think it will serve the Bruins a little bit well. They are a little bit more of a grinded out team. They're not highfalutin and flashy by any means or have a ton of speed. So the Bruins might be a team to be able to grind out some wins in the playoffs. If Swayman keeps doing what he's doing, they might be in good shape. Gabe, I'll hand it back to you for any final things on the
Yeah.
Bruins. I think that the only question that I have is does Higgins potentially come up here given the situation? Do you give him a look and round us out, and then we'll flip it over to the court?
Absolutely. Yeah. Just going back to J Matt's point too, I think a little bit of credit has to go to Sweeney too in building this team to be more of a playoff type team. You guys are 100% correct saying that they're built more for the playoffs than they are the regular season. And, I may have not looked at these losses like you guys did. And I am, it's good to not go into the playoffs on a hot streak and then have it end quickly. You know how many times you see that where a team goes in hot and gets crushed. So yeah, all great points on that front. But for James Higgins, the Bruins still have an option to call him up from the AHL. I think that would be a lot of fun. I think calling up Higgins would bring a lot of kind of energy to this team. Not that they necessarily need energy, but it definitely will bring some energy to the team, to the offense, especially, and help on the scoring front. I think that would be fun. I don't know if the Bruins actually do call up Higgins because I know there's some contractual things that go along with it. But
Do you think he's ready? Because
I
he
think
only has one goal, right? In 4+
he has
games?
4 points in
Bunch of
6 games.
assists.
4 points. Okay. Okay.
He's definitely obviously still getting his feet wet in the AHL, but just the type of player he is, like he's fun to watch, and I think it would really make the playoffs a bit more exciting, even if it's not going to push us to the Stanley Cup cusp. I think it would be valuable for him to get some of that experience as well. Also, Geeky has been on a bit of a goalless streak here, so let's hope that he snaps out of that at the right time leading into the playoffs. It's been over 15 games since I believe he scored a goal, so Geeky needs to snap out of it. But while he's not been scoring, Pavel Zacha has been out of his mind and making up for it. So this team they're going to make some noise in the playoffs. I have a feeling that they might make some noise.
Yep, and so as we said. All right, let's take it over to the court, Big E. Talk about the team in green, the week that was, and what you're looking for down the stretch.
Yeah, I mean, this team is a machine right now. Like all they do is just win, right? And they had 3 games this past week, and they played against the Heat, where the Celtics put up 147 points in the game. They had, I think it was 80 points in the first half, just absolutely insane. Both Brown and Tatum balled out in that game. But then they kept that going into the next game against Milwaukee with another 32-point beatdown on the Giannis-less Bucks. And then a nice win to round on out our Sunday here with the only team able to get a win on Sunday. Glad no one played the Boston team parlay on Sunday, because the Bruins and Red Sox couldn't pull their end of the bargain, but the Celtics certainly did. Just a couple quick thoughts about the Celtics. Jaylen Brown was named the Eastern Conference Player of the Week. Just having a great week. He averaged 30 points, 5.5 rebounds, 5.8 assists. Jason Tatum is rebounding at an amazing clip. Since coming back from his injury, there is only a handful of guys that are averaging more rebounds than him, and those guys go by the name of Wembanyama, Jokic, and a few, maybe one other big man. So he is averaging the most rebounds for his position at the 4. Overall, the team is looking like they're in great position. They have locked up a playoff berth, pretty much have locked up the number 2 seed at this point. There's 4 games left. So I think once they win the next game, it's officially locked up, and it's basically all about just getting this team primed and ready to go for the playoffs and finding out who their opponent's going to be after the play-in tournament. I don't know if you guys have any Celtics takes, any Celtics thoughts.
Couldn't have said it really
It's
better,
just Tatum. Go
honestly.
ahead.
And the one thing I just want to say is, like, and I don't think Tatum he's not playing better, but he's playing with a different perspective, I think, by sitting out and being able to watch. So, he's not playing a better game, but different perspective, and he's playing a hell of a game right now. So, yeah, the playoffs are going to be fun.
I couldn't agree more with you, Jay Matt. The Tatum sort of observing and seeing how he could impact. He's just impacting the game on another level right now.
Mhm.
He can score at will when he wants to, but some of the passes that he made in the game yesterday against Miami were Larry Bird like kind of passes, and he's rebounding over 10 rebounds a game for a guy that just had an ankle. And is he going to be able to get up there and want to be involved banging down low at that sort of rate after the injury? And he is. And what's the best part of all of it is he's come back, and Jaylen Brown has still played at the level and the way that he was playing before the injury. And it's almost as like they've unlocked this like ability. The thing that you've almost been looking for all this time has been unlocked, where it's like one guy can do this and one guy can do that, and both of us can get ours. Tatum's been averaging like a fucking triple double. Like,
Crazy.
it's just insane what he's done since he's come back. And the playoffs should be fun. It should be a ride.
Hell
And we
yeah.
should be hopefully playing some basketball in June, fellas, because the way that they've looked the past couple games, especially as Tatum's rounded into form, looks like 2024 just blowing fucking teams out kind of deals.
Gabe,
Knocking
give
on
us
wood
your
here, but I hope so. Gabe, yeah,
I mean,
give us your Celtics.
I'm feeding off that energy.
Kristen
I'm very ready for the playoffs. Like, again, like the regular season, just poo goodbye. Like, we're done with you. Let's go to the playoffs. The Celtics have a real chance to win a championship this year because of Tatum and everything that he's brought back to this team. I mean, not to diminish what all the other guys have been doing, but it's just really exciting. It's like you get those feels like, ooh, like this could come out of nowhere and just absolutely shock everyone, and I want that so bad.
And Gabe,
I think-
who's not here that called this? Sammy. We got to give Sammy his
panic,
credit.
his panic,
We
his
got to
panic
give
meter was
Sammy
low.
his credit. We do. We have
I
to.
will say, like, if they do end up going and win a championship this year, it might be one of the greatest championships of all time, just for the fact that they traded away so many pieces from. Well, okay, but they did trade away so many pieces. No, literally, they traded away 4 guys that were part of your top 7 rotation and your basic or top 8, and you're then coming back with all these guys that are unproven and reloaded. Brad Stevens is the GOAT if they are able to win this. And just like 2 more quick things about the Celtics, just because they're notable as we head into the playoffs. First off, Vucevic came back and played against the Raptors, so it's nice that he's going to get 5 games to kind of come in and get some rhythm, some timing, so he's able to play and have an impact in the playoffs, especially for a dude who really hasn't had that opportunity in his career. So excited for him. And then the other note that I wanted to share as well is congrats to Ron Harper Jr. for signing his 2-year contract. He's been a great guy off the bench for this team this year. So to reward him from the 2-way deal that he had to a standard 2-year deal is pretty sweet. So I think the guys in the clubhouse really, really love that move as well too.
Team is
Paying their
rolling,
players,
playoffs.
take notes.
Hey,
Yes.
I
Red
agree
Sox,
with that.
take notes.
Excellent. All right, Biggie, keep the ball, keep running with it, keep us going, baby.
All right. It's my favorite time of the pod. It's the time that we talk about the things that we don't like, the things that are stinky. Yo, get out of here. Like, we hate those things. And they're the things that we love, the things that make me want to yell from the rooftops. Yeah. Who's got a yeah or oh yeah this week? Oh yeah.
All right, Eric, I think we got to do it. We got to kick things off with a yeah and a oh yeah all in one here, and it's our Bravo Boys Minute of the Week, a new segment here during the yeah oh yeah segment. Let's start with the yeah oh. Carl's a mess. What's going on in Summer House, Eric?
Poor
what are your
Carl.
thoughts on the whole
Poor
situation?
Carl, he's a mess. Oh man, for those of you who live under a rock, don't know what's going on with the Summer House and the Summer House drama, I'm gonna break it down for you real quick. So okay, Gabe, you're going to class
Reader's
right
Digest
now, all right?
version. Reader's Digest.
Reader's
version
Digest.
here.
Reader's Digest version.
TLDR.
10 seasons of the show. Kyle Cook and Amanda Batula have been on since season 1. They've been in a 10-year relationship, been married for the last 4 years. Things are not going great with Amanda and Kyle. You've seen a lot of cracks in their relationships over the last couple of years play out over television. All right. One of Amanda's best friends, Sierra, been on the show for 6 seasons. Had a fling with this guy, West, who was new on the show 3 years ago. They kind of carried it off the show for 6 months. He said some things in the press, broke it off with her. She was quite offended. It was not great. He then caught feelings again, and she was like, nah, not happening. This past season, they try and see if they can make some things happen. Kyle and Amanda, things are not going great. Comes out that West and Amanda might have been hooking up since last summer while she was still married to Kyle and while he was trying to get with Sierra. So this breaks not only bro code, because he's friends with Kyle, but this also breaks girl code, because Amanda is friends with Sierra. So this is a mess. This is a mess. A mess.
Code mess.
Absolute
Bravo.
Yeah, bravo. Sounds like a mess.
Bravo.
Man.
Pandemonium in the social media streets over
I
there.
thought Summer House was a Barstool thing.
No,
they do their
no.
own. They do their own little side quest thing. Barstool sort of spinoff. There was a Summer House that they did in Jersey that was kind of nutty with all
That was
the
pretty fun.
social media clips. Yeah, that was a good time.
But anyways, with these Bravo,
Summer House.
with this Summer
Yes.
House, it's like a new piece of information has been coming out each day, and it's more damning than the next. And everyone's rallying around Sierra. We all love Sierra, so that's who we're rooting for. And we're also rooting for Kyle Cook. So we're rooting for those two, and the other two, we're not rooting so much for them right now at this moment.
We'll see what happens to them. All right. The oh yeah from the Bravo boys is the Real Housewives of Rhode Island has officially aired down in J. Matt and Sammy K's neck of the woods. Mrs. P is from Rhode Island as well. So there's lots of ties. There's lots of interest to what's going on. If you recall, we had our buddy Ron Poster on several episodes. He works with Rich, who is Rosie's husband. So Rich is a Frank Sinatra singer. They do all the stuff over there at Capo.
Not an impersonator, though. Not an impersonator.
No, don't get it wrong neither. He's a singer. Rich DeMary is a singer, but it's chaotic. It's quite the show. Good times to tune in. I'm not going to break it down. This isn't really my wheelhouse. It's the most Rhode Island shit ever.
Oh, And speaking of the most Rhode Island shit ever, there was one little scene off the bat. I'll just go quickly into it. They're driving, and they're driving from Cranston to Providence, and they're like, "Oh, this drive is so far. It's like 20 minutes. It's crazy. If that doesn't get more Rhode Island, then I don't know what does." So it's very funny.
Rhode Island driving mentality for sure. The other funny part of the show was they did like this whole picnic scene at Goddard Park.
Yeah.
And Goddard Park, boys, is where
Just to,
we've
like-
taken the boat over a couple times just to set the anchor over near East Greenwich
Nothing.
and just have like families and other. I'm like, this is not any sort of like beach in the Amalfi Coast here. This is it's fine. There's nothing wrong with it, but trying to make it seem like we're in
True.
some luxurious place. Go down to Newport, maybe, sure, but just hilarious. So it's quite the show. It'll continue to deliver here for us. Let's keep it moving. We got a couple oh yeahs and yeah ohs related to the Red Sox. Who wants to take the next one here?
Yeah, to the new lobster poutine that Fenway's serving. $39 fucking dollars. Like, you can get a ticket for less than that if they keep trending at this rate. So I mean,
Also-
that just blows my mind. Who's buying like lobster poutine in the middle of the summer?
If you
Like,
want
no.
poutine, do you think getting it at Fenway is the best place to get it of all places too? Like, come on. I seriously question anyone that's like, oh, I'm going to get lobster poutine. That sounds delicious on a 85-degree day in the middle of July. Gross.
Give me my
Those
tasty
people are going to
burger.
be in our
That's what I
comments.
want.
Yeah, go to Tasty Burger for sure next door. It's too bad.
I want a Fenway Frank and a beer. It's just
True.
that will
Or
make me
Frank.
happy.
Exactly. That's all you need. No, just poutine is as is. Never mind lobster poutine at that price and the bacon.
Pretty
son.
great in Quebec. I'm not gonna lie, it was pretty great.
No, up
Yeah.
in Canada, it's next level. That's part of the experience up there. All right, let's keep it in the Red Sox theme. This was a oh yeah for me, just because I'm not a fan of government in any way, shape, or form of anybody who holds office. And the booing that occurred for Mayor Wu and Governor Healy the other day was quite astonishing, to be quite honest. Not often do you have political people that are out there that you get a audible sort of reaction to them. More often than not, it's usually like a nothing burger or an applause for the elected officials, but this was a very clear boo. And there was a funny video that went around where there's a guy who's definitely drunk out in the bleachers, just yells, "Communist!"
I saw that.
When they announced Mayor
You're
Wu over the
communist,
loudspeaker.
yeah.
So it was more the comedic moment of it all, more so than the actual thing that happened. But I found that
Hilarious.
pretty funny from the home opener.
Hey, I mean, it's just all
Go
in
ahead,
fun and
Gabe.
games. It's all in fun and games. Like, it's always good to remind your political leaders that it's not always a 10 out of 10. There's room for improvement, and that's what Massachusetts is at, where we got some room for improvement here.
Hey, it's expensive to live here, man, and they could work on some affordability. Hey, Mayor Wu, that 18% property tax hike this year, not so cool. So yeah, you deserve to be booed over that.
There we
What
go.
was the
See, we
property
have
tax
reason.
hike?
18%
Holy
That's
crap!
insane.
property taxes.
Yeah.
That's like New York City.
To our listeners, and there's a lot of people in Boston who don't do this. If you want your voice heard, you got to go to the polling places and go cast your vote and learn about the people that are running for office, because if you want 18% tax hikes, like Big E just said, they're going to keep on coming if you don't go and make your voices
And listen,
heard.
I'm not just blaming Mayor Wu. I'm blaming the state too, because they basically played.
It's a
they played-
debacle from top
they-
to bottom.
they
They're like
played
the Red
hot-
Sox. The state and the
No.
Red Sox, they're one and the same.
They played hot potato with the property tax. Said, "Oh no, you guys figure it out. No, you guys figure it out." Well, you know who's figuring it out now? The taxpayers. We're all figuring it out. So yeah,
You want to know another and who's going to have to figure it out is all these people coming to town for the World Cup in a couple months, where an MBTA ticket from South Station to Gillette is going to run you $80. $80
Gouging.
to
Each
take
way.
the train.
each way.
Each way.
That's
way.
crazy.
That is one of the most outrageous things.
That
We
is
should all rent out our
disgusting.
fucking houses, and Big E would be able to pay off his tax with the Airbnb income that he
No,
Right,
like
what
tax, I'd
happened
probably be able to pay off my mortgage.
What happened to the $5 weekend pass? Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Good luck with that. Gone with the $5 footlong.
Well, I
Crazy.
think the
Yeah,
thing that's
yeah,
crazy too is it's like there's no discount for senior citizens. There's no
Crazy.
child discount. Like it is a
Yeah.
flat $80
Gouging.
for everyone. So
Not
hey,
cool.
MBTA is got to make their money. They got to get their nut.
Gotta fix the track
mean-
somehow, right?
Yeah, that's pretty bad. Like, especially for the services you're offering, which is absolutely nothing. It's just that's
Think
such a bad look. But they're
think
gonna
about
take all that money and hopefully make our transportation better afterwards. I don't know. We'll see.
Oh
think about all these people coming from like all these European cities where all these trains are
my
like
God.
super sophisticated and
Yeah.
they're all affordable, and they're gonna come to Boston and they're like, hey, $80 to go one way. Oh, it's gonna cost you 160 round trip. Oh, and by the way, this train sucks compared to what you guys are used to.
By the way,
Have
Gillette's in
fun.
the middle of nowhere too. Good luck.
You're legitimately gonna have people who are just gonna park. I mean, it happened for that Brazil-France game a couple weeks ago. People are gonna park their cars on the side of Route 1. People are gonna park their cars all over Foxborough, and you will see thousands and thousands of people just migrating towards Gillette come June, because the international people are not gonna put up with this bullshit. They're gonna
No,
get themselves to, like, a 2 or 3 mile walk from Gillette and hoof it. I'm telling you, like, they don't care. They walk all over the
agreed.
place over there.
Claudie, do you know, speaking of people who don't give up, take any bullshit, especially from our sister
Ooh, tell
Karen
us.
from that story. For the listeners, these are for the real listeners. Our sister Karen once went to a big, oh yeah, that's happening this weekend, the Masters week. And she did something that the Rangers didn't really like. So don't piss off the Rangers during Masters week, or they will come and get you, even sister Karen.
Make sure you keep your cars upright too.
So that was a big segue into, yeah, the Masters week.
Oh, nothing better. Kicks off with that par 3 tournament on Wednesday, and then you have 4 days of beautiful golf, and the soothing voice of Jim Nantz returns to the airwaves. And there's nothing better, especially after last year. I don't know if it will be topped with Rory coming down the stretch, but all you hope for is that there's a competitive Sunday. But it's must-watch television, a little nap ski in the afternoon, and you have some great golf on tap, fellas. What are you looking for? Who do you think may come out of with the Masters W this week?
Scotty Scheffler. Scotty Scheffler.
Always at the top.
Yeah,
Gabe, anybody
Tiger
on your
Woods.
list?
Hell yeah. Great
Hell
segue.
yeah.
Great segue.
It's just that dampens it a little bit for me, but I don't really know many golfers. Let's go McIlroy.
Justin
he's gonna do it.
Rose, dark horse, Englishman.
Yeah, he's good. He's always right
Sneaking
there.
around there, sniffing
Yeah.
around.
He's like
yeah.
Carl. He's in the mix.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's my guy.
It'll be a fun week of golf down there at Augusta, and also we'll be keeping our eyes on everything going on over the course of the week. Let's take the Pike. Let's take this baby home. The Celtics rounding out the season with 4 final games. Big E, what are you looking forward to this week?
I mean, I'm mostly looking forward to the game against the Knicks, just because that's most likely something that we're hoping to see later in the playoffs. But I will call out a special shout out to the game tomorrow against Charlotte Hornets 4-7. We will have some boots on the ground there for that game, but also right now, Charlotte might be one of the teams that might be the favorite to play us in the first round. So could be a little bit extra juice in that game. So excited that you're going to go to that game and be there representing for the Boston Sports Bros.
Be a good time. I'm looking forward to it as always. Gabe, what's going on with the Bruins this week? Looks like we'll also have boots on the ground.
Yeah, I just found this out. I'll be at the Tampa Bay Lightning game on Saturday.
Yeah.
Looking forward to that, as it could be a playoff preview to the team that the Bruins might play. They also have a game tomorrow against Carolina, and another game back-to-back on Sunday at Columbus, at the Columbus Blue Jackets. So, a lot of good hockey coming up in these 4 remaining games here, and we're ready to go.
Excellent. The Red Sox are now back in the lead, 5-4 over Milwaukee, and we'll have their series with them going on
Say a
throughout the
prayer.
week. And then
Seesaw.
Don't worry, Caleb Durbin's going to throw a ball into the stands shortly, so don't worry
Say a
about
prayer.
then they go ahead and make a trip out to St. Louis for the second half of the week. So hopefully they can right the ship, come back next week. We'll recap it all. We'll set the stage for the playoffs for both teams. We're going to go ahead, sign off, get locked in for UConn, Michigan National Championship. Live reaction at the top of the episode. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in, near, far, wherever you are. That'll do it for the Boston Sports Brothers podcast. We'll see you next time. Peace.
Later.